Who is the strongest pony? The obvious answer would have to be Rockhoof or Bulk Biceps, or perhaps another pony who has super strength as a primary characteristic, such as this particularly special filly from Crusaders of the Lost Mark. But it's kinda a given that these characters would be the strongest ponies, and they didn't get very much focus in MLPFIM anyway. What about these 6 mares? We have the Party Planner, the Environmentalist, the Princess, the Seamstress, the Athlete, and the Farmer. Already, simply knowing their professions seems to clue which ones are stronger. I think it's reasonable to start with the assumption that a farmer pony would have some decent muscle mass. Applejack possesses incredible physical strength, which she attributes to
years of apple bucking.
Once she demonstrated amazing endurance by kicking all the apples out of every tree in half the area of her entire farm without any assistance. She has also kicked through solid brick wall, saved ponies from falling off a cliff by stopping a bus, and most remarkably, stopped a mountain boulder weighing a colossal 106 metric tons from rolling downhill and crushing a group of archaeologists, even kicking it several meters into the air as if it were a bale of hay. It's widely hypothesized that Earth ponies like her possess a passive magic that gives them strength boosts and puts them to a similar advantage as Pegasi with their wings or unicorns with their spell magic. Applejack is also connected to the element of honesty, which is connected to the pillar of strength. The word strong is even mentioned in her part of the FIM theme song.
Faithful and strong.
So from a basic overview, one could reasonably conclude that Applejack is the strongest. But what about the athlete, Rainbow Dash, a pony specifically trained to test the technical limits of the equine body and set new records? She might not be able to exert as much power as Applejack, but she has been able to match and outperform Applejack's capabilities in quite a few situations. On several occasions, she has rescued free-falling ponies and objects of considerable weight. If nothing else, she probably has Equestria's strongest wings, being the only known living pony capable of flying at supersonic speeds. And of course, there's this scene. The fact that Rainbow Dash was able to immediately brake while traveling near to her terminal velocity and make a perfect 90-degree turn while holding the additional weight of Rarity and 3 other ponies is truly unquestionable proof of her wing power. Also, speaking of Rarity, one wouldn't normally think of a seamstress pony such as her as particularly strong, but she does have a tough side. While most of her combative moments are probably taunts rather than feats of strength, she did on one occasion manage to throw a huge chunk of stone 5 times her size at Tyrek, even knocking him back a little with it. She also carried a boulder similar in size on her back in Season 2. Come to think of it, Twilight hauled that boulder as well, and she's handled some other exacting feats with a surprising fair bit of ease for someone who, before becoming a princess, used to be more of a wimp, intended to represent that typical introverted kid who just lies in her bed all day watching YouTube and never goes outside to get any exercise. Like you! Hey, when's the last time your skin got any sun exposure? Anyway, if even such a pony as Twilight is strong, then it's beginning to seem that all ponies are inherently strong. Wait, Twilight is strong. It is true, though. One of the most common units of measure for power wouldn't be named horsepower and originally based on the comparison between horses and early steam engines if horses weren't useful for pulling things. I'm sure the MLP ponies are at least as strong as real equines matching their size. Considering these things, the various strength acts in MLP FIM that seem moderately impressive aren't as important to the individual ponies who performed them, but rather to their species. Thus, none of these ponies are notably strong. Well, with the exception of Applejack and her 100-ton boulder. I think Applejack is the strongest of the main 6. Well, actually, it's not obvious, and it's quite ironic in fact, but there's one other pony in this group with strength I cannot deny. Fluttershy.
Fluttershy? Really?
And I know what you're thinking. Fluttershy is the antonym of strong. In the episode Hurricane Fluttershy, even a week of training barely enables her to win tug-of-war against butterflies. But hear me out. Her apparent lack of strength is partly due to her lack of self-confidence, a limitation which she gradually broke through as the series progressed. Of course, Fluttershy does also put a heavy emphasis on being gentle, and that's simply a defining part of her character, But neither of these qualities actually define her physical ability. They just describe how she manages it. And importantly, some factors can cause those qualities to change. Supposedly, in that same episode of Butterfly pulled her helpless body into a pile of mud, Fluttershy increased her record wing power of 2.3 to 5 when subjected to social pressure. She also mentioned earlier in the episode that she can exceed her usual limits during emergencies.
Just last week you went into that wicked nosedive to save that falling baby bird right before it hit the ground. That was different. That was an emergency.
We've seen concrete examples of this, such as when she rescued Twilight Sparkle from falling to her death in the first episode of the entire series.
I'm not used to holding anything more than a bunny or two.
Now, what makes Fluttershy's ability to break through the limits set by her personality important to this subject is that it often gives her access to additional strength. When Rainbow Dash tried to force her to go with her to see a dragon migration, Fluttershy was able to resist her push and thus avoid going. For comparison, Rainbow Dash was able to force Pinkie Pie to go to Sweet Apple Acres for her birthday party by a similar manner. Obviously, Rainbow Dash wasn't trying as hard as she could here, but if Fluttershy didn't have such a strong objection to getting close to dragons, she probably wouldn't be physically strong enough to prevent any pony from pushing her, let alone 5 ponies for that matter, as she in fact also managed to on another occasion when all her friends pushed her at once to try to make her go into a cave that contained a dragon. But you know what requires more strength than resisting the simultaneous push of 5 equines? Throwing 1. After Iron Will trained Fluttershy to be assertive, she basically became a terrorist instead and somehow managed to literally throw another pony like 50 feet. She also kicked over 2 large wagons full of trash at the same time. I'm not sure how much all that trash weighed, so I don't know which of those actions would be harder, but what I do know is that air resistance pushes extremely hard. And if nothing so far has convinced you of Fluttershy's strength, take a look at this.
If you can't catch her, Discord wins! That big, dumb meeting!
Fluttershy, being the supposed weak flyer that she is with an all-time high record of 5 wing power, which is 3 times less than Rainbow Dash's average wing power, outpaced Rainbow Dash not on her own, but with an enormous sail attached to her back. And yes, Rainbow was being slowed down in the scene as well by Pinkie Pie's and Rarity's body weight, but holding extra weight hardly makes any difference to her flying speed on any occasion throughout the series, so it would be ignorant to conclude that this fact is what allowed the other Pegasus, who was also carrying 2 other ponies, to catch up. Another very important point is that when the main 6 jumped into this enchanted comic book and became the Power Ponies, Fluttershy became the Hulk, or Saddle Rager, as Hasbro prefers to call it to avoid copyright infringement. Anyway, the fact that Fluttershy's super strength could only be activated when she became angry complements the idea that she does indeed have remarkable strength in real life that can be activated under certain conditions. Also, consider that the superpowers that the main 6 acquired in that episode were just augmented versions of abilities they already had in real life. Pinkie Pie gained super speed, already having quite skittish tendencies. Rainbow Dash gained the ability to summon weather, which she normally controls by moving clouds. Applejack got this magic lasso thing because she's good at lassoing, I guess? Twilight became Elsa for some reason. Rarity gained the ability to realize imaginary objects because, I don't know. Maybe someone in the comments can explain that. You know, I was just trying to prove a point that Fluttershy clearly must be physically strong in real life because she gained super strength when she fell into the comic book, but I guess my logic kind of fell apart here. Ultimately, I don't think the writers would have given Fluttershy this ability out of pure irony, though, and I think that writing decision alludes to a real part of her. So to summarize, Fluttershy's personality makes her seem far less powerful than she actually is. In fact, the full extent of her abilities has probably never been portrayed in MLP-FIM, because as far as I know, she's never been in a situation such that the fate of Equestria depended solely on her ability to accomplish anything more strenuous than catching Rainbow Dash. And I think that fact alone gives her a good chance at potentially being the strongest of the main 6. But here comes the important question. Is Fluttershy stronger than Applejack? Even if Fluttershy has far more strength than she lets on, we don't know how it actually compares against other ponies. Could she bear a large chunk of limestone upon her back? Instantaneously rotate 90 degrees while nosediving? Break a rolling 100-ton boulder? For all I know, Fluttershy's true strength limit could be ranked anywhere from among the other main 5 to leagues beyond them. But as far as the ponies of Equestria know, Fluttershy is just as powerless as she seems on the surface. None know the true depth of her abilities. Perhaps Even Fluttershy herself doesn't know. But which main character in MLPFIM do you think is the strongest? Do you think Fluttershy has extraordinary physical strength concealed inside her? Or have her seemingly impressive feats somehow been false? Tell me your opinions down in the comments. I look forward to hearing from you, because as always, I'm Dr. Wolf. I mean, Candace. Also, sorry I didn't say much about Pinkie Pie. Unfortunately, she breaks physics far too often, so I don't know if it's even worth it to try to accurately measure her strength. Like, I don't know what to do with this. Alright, that was like 40 minutes worth of recording.